So I was looking at the Caitlin Clark situation because my son plays basketball and I had to learn about a lot of basketball. So I guess the algorithm was like, and this too. And so I was looking at it. I'm like, this is crazy. What is happening here? And I can't believe that I'm watching what I'm watching. Now on my other channel, I did a breakdown, like a secular breakdown of the how it mirrors some abuse dynamics. But I wanted to talk about here is how to counter that. And wait a minute, hold on. Let me grab my okay. This is my prayer journal note thing. Okay. So I actually ran into a situation like this, the Caitlin Clark thing, but in like the kids basketball situation. One of these conferences the kids were playing. And to me, I like pray over my son. I pray over all of the kids in terms of safety. Um, but I pray very specifically over my son, that the Lord is with him and I don't know, empowers him and blesses him and protects him, like, the kind of things you do as a mom. But mostly I kind of mind my business in terms of the overall gameplay, the overall you know, like this middle school kids basketball. I mean, however, there was a team playing in one of the conferences we were at, and this coach was so like I don't like a yelly coach anyway, but the stuff this coach was yelling, not just to the kids, but to the other coach and even the officials was so out of pocket. So I guess at one point, one of his kids, they're being like really aggressive. They're like trying to like hurt kids on the other kids on the team. And at this point it wasn't my team, but I was like, it was the game before ours, and I was watching this like, what am I looking at? And he turns to this other coach and he's like, yeah, that's what y'all gonna get, we're um yeah, I told you that would happen. And so the kids are not just playing over aggressively, intending to like try and, get in people's faces, but the coach was encouraging it and then trying to come against the other coaches. And I was like, "Oh, absolutely not. We're not doing this." And so what I did was I was like, okay, I went home and I wrote a prayer. And I try to be very careful, very specific about the kinds of prayers that I do because you want to make sure that you're praying fairly. So essentially, what I did was I basically said, like, there's a whole process too, because in order to do praying, you kind of like have to have an altar, because you have to have that ability to bring God's presence into this three-dimensional, four-dimensional realm. So I already have that established. So like I wouldn't come to like if I were new to this, I don't know that I'd be doing it this way. But I already have that established. And so, you know, um first of all, you got to like wipe the slate. You got to say, "Hey, I apologize for anything I've done. I am so sorry." And if you can't think of anything, Psalm 19, forgive me my hidden faults. You just apologize for everything. And then you say like thank you for anything that you are thankful for, and then you get down to nuts and bolts. And I often will even start with like the Lord's Prayer, and then get into like the prayer that I'm praying. But it basically said, "Hey, God, you see what's happening here. You have your eyes on this game in this situation. And you know that these kids are being dangerous and they're being encouraged to be dangerous by their coach, who is also being dangerous and who I found out later had threatened to beat up the stats guy of our team, which is like these are the most milquetoast people. There nobody is I've got the most spice out of anybody on this team, right? I was like, he did what? He was mad? I don't know. Anyway, so he's like threatening to beat people up and he's, encouraging his kids to go out and be violent on the court, inappropriately so. And so what I did, I was like, Lord, like you see all this, here are all of the things that I've seen. I pray your presence into this situation. I pray your dominion over this. And I pray that this team, as long as he's acting like this, as long as he's misusing his power over these kids to encourage them to basically, do wrong things, wicked things, not okay things, sinning things, right? He's misusing his power over these kids to get them to rack up things on their own personal, like, no stats. As long as he's encouraging this, as long as he's engaging in these actions, as long as he's threatening to beat people up, as long as he is misusing his power over these children, I pray he is vanquished. Right? But you got to put those limits on it, because I'm not trying to pray that he's vanquished permanently. But as long as you are misusing your power over these children, it should be losing. It should be just losing forever, losing all day. There should be no benefits for acting in this way. And now people don't pray before games anymore. And I didn't, when I was secular, I was like, that's dumb. And, you're indoctrinating children. And so I had a very different perspective of what was happening. And now I'm like, oh no, so if I am there and my kids participating in the conference, I have standing to pray over all the children, I think. I have standing to pray over all the children to say, hey, Lord, I pray that your presence here and your protection over all of these kids. Because I swear I've seen some incidents where I really was like, that kid should be in traction. If this had happened in any other way, like, I'm surprised he got up and was able to walk. It was very dangerous. So I try to be very careful with my spiritual authority and how I'm using it, and to not misuse it. And so, I also want to leave room for people to do better, learn and grow. Poppy always seems to be really big on that. I appreciate he let me do that. And so I am perfectly happy to let another person figure it out and stop being terrible. But I'm not going to support that you are harming other people or putting them in harm's way or causing them to be harmed. And you are misteaching the children under your power and control. Absolutely not. So anyway, unfortunately, because the other channel is more secular oriented, I don't generally talk about how I approach, spiritual defense of yourself, or in this case, like others. But if it like works, it really works. This team lost so badly. They tried switching to a different league or conference or something like that. They no longer play, and they played an age level down. They started losing so badly. He was like, "Oh, we got to switch." He doesn't know what's happening. He doesn't know what's going on. I did kind of think about like should I tell him? But you sound crazy, and I don't feel like doing that. So, I saw it happen, and I was like, no, we're not, absolutely not. I will say, I did also pray into this Caitlin Clark thing. I have less base knowledge for the situation, but if you basically say, the Lord, your will be done, but I'm praying you into the situation. Now, in terms of the WNBA, I don't really have a lot of standing to pray into the WNBA, except for the fact that Caitlin Clark has said she's a Christian. Boom, girl. Boom. Yes. Thank you. Now I've got standing. We're both Christian. We're both part of the body of Christ. And so I can pray for her. Therefore, I can pray into the situation, and I'm not using my power and misusing my power and authority. And I did a very, very similar kind of prayer on her behalf regarding the situation. These people are misusing, not only are the players being unsafe, but the coaches, the refs, the league officials, everybody seems to be misusing their power and authority. However, maybe I misunderstand the situation. So I'm going to pray the Lord's presence into that specific situation. And also I'm going to pray prayer of protection over Caitlin Clark. And also generally, anytime I'm dealing with people who are, in my opinion, out of pocket, they are being unsafe, they are being dangerous, they are coming after other people, and they feel entitled to do it, I'm going to pray that you're saved. I'm going to pray that the Lord saves you, rescues you, gives you the gift of saving faith. I'm going to pray the Lord has his hand on you. Because I personally know that that is one of the, it's one thing for someone to get consequences, right? Well, if they don't have any self-awareness, they have no idea they're getting consequences. They're just like, oh no, something's happened to me. It's terrible. I'm a victim, right? Mm-mm. What's most effective is you give someone the gift of the Lord's presence, or you give him access to do that if he wants. Because, obviously he's his own person. He can do what he wants. But like in your will, God, I pray you save this person. I pray you work in their life. I pray you give them the gift of saving faith. I pray they get the Holy Spirit. I pray you are with them and they know you're with them. And I get like very like, that legal background comes in handy. Again, if you are powering over other people for your benefit at their expense, you're being abusive. And you're giving spiritual permission as you do unto others. You're giving spiritual permission for it to be done to you. So I don't walk around and generally pray over random people and be like, oh, Lord, I pray they're saved. Because that's not, he's very, very, very motivated by someone's free will. But if you are impinging on someone else's free will, you are powering over them, you are hurting them. Okay, off to the races. Now, I will say in general, I do pray over anybody who comes under my influence, anyone who watches my channel, anyone who follows my work from the abuse side, that they are free from abuse, that the Lord save them from the abusive situation, the Lord work in that situation. I do not pray like for their souls. I don't think that I have permission to do that. And I wouldn't want someone doing that to me. When I was an atheist, when I was secular, when I was spiritual, when I was I believed what I believed, and that was my own free will, and I'm preserving that for other people. I don't want to come against people, but I feel like I do have permission to pray over them for what they're coming to the channel for, which is to figure out their situation, to be free of this abuse dynamic. To be safe, to not be mistreated, to not be abused. And so I feel like I'm ethically within my work to pray that way. And I always make this, I always try to make sure that this is front and center. So that anyone can make a choice about if they don't want anything to do with anyone who self-identifies as Christian, then they have the ability to not decide to watch my work or read my work or something like that. Again, respecting someone's free will. But if you're abusive, if you are powering over other people, if you're being harmful, if you are engaging in violence, okay, now we're opening that door. And I will take it. I will use it. Because it's kind of like we let you be on your own, and you weren't able to appropriately use your free will the way that, it's intended. You're trying to take somebody else's free will away. You're trying to power over them. You're trying to harm them. So no, you've lost that privilege. Not in the sense of like losing your free will, but losing the privilege of being able to power over other people and not have any conviction about it. Because that's what the Lord does, is you get convicted inside yourself, you start having self-awareness. And so, when the Lord really doesn't like somebody, he will give them up over to their own. It's like a passive wrath of God, where it's like, okay, I'm going to leave you to your own devices. But, if I identify a situation, I will pray on it. And again, but always under that covering of it being the Lord's will or not. So he can decide what he wants to do and how he wants to handle it. And even what kind of time frame it works on. Sometimes it's not fast. Like the basketball team that I was talking about, that happened so fast. I don't know that it always happens that fast. It just happened to happen that fast that one time. But anyway, so whenever I'm praying for involving the Lord, whenever I'm praying, I'm involving the Lord, but specifically I'm involving him for like protection of people or to stop someone who's being evil, even if they don't think that's what they're doing. I always try to do it within the bounds of free will. I always try to do it where it's limited in terms of as long as you are doing this, then this, but not, oh, this is your, I'm praying for this consequence for you forever, because I mean, I think the Lord sometimes says that, but I think a lot of the time he does not want that. And anyway, just being very, very careful. And again, under the Lord's will. I hope this makes sense, and I'll talk to you next time.